Happy Friday, my happy Friday friends. And happy July 4th weekend, right, huh? From your favorite little firecracker, me. Just remember to be careful out there. I'd hate to see you lose a finger. Like my childhood friend we had to call Mittens. Yeah. So in case you scoff at the idea that the media works from the same script, the same playbook, the same oxygen-deprived brain, you need to see Thursday's LA Times piece on how late night's alleged comedians covered the January 6 hearings. All the late night shows the Times covered featured the exact same unison response. Or should I say, unisom. Since they were dull enough to put a meth head into a coma.
We are coming to you just hours after the January 6th committee shocked the world with a hearing that can only be described as cuckoo, ooga, psh, hala, hachi machi.
Yeah,
So
I know.
not funny.
I too was shocked to hear that Trump threw any of his food away. Because, I mean, let's be honest, this guy's taken more selfies with food than he has with some of his kids, right?
Immediately, the agents were like, who the hell let him out of his car seat? Now, knowing Trump, he probably finished his Big Mac first, then threw the plate.
Isn't that unreal? Who has ketchup at lunch?
Wow. Well, those shows should come with a warning. Do not operate heavy machinery afterward or expect amusement while viewing. They aren't even trying to think outside the box. Maybe because it's now a coffin where comedy goes to die. It's like they all think comedy isn't their job. And if you watch a few minutes, you'll agree it's not even their hobby. Instead, their job is to spout acceptable liberal elitist assumptions, to be safe. Meanwhile, their audience feels like they're in a TV room at Gitmo, and Pete Hegseth has been holding the remote. Which explains why their audience is shrinking like it's got a Speedo full of ice cubes. Meanwhile, our ratings are sick. And sick in a good way. Yeah. I think that's what the teens say. We're sick. In a good way, not in a, hey, what are these sores and why do I want to eat bananas and fling my feces? Shout out to monkeypox. But we aren't just stealing their viewers, we're taking the ones with the big fat wallets. It's like we're doing a smash and grab on them and taking only the good stuff. Which leads me back to the LA Times. They covered what the late nighters said about Jan 6, but mysteriously left off one show. Now, what show could that be? Do you think it's the one that A, isn't parroting the other shows, B, and is beating the crap out of them in less than a year of being on air, and C, whose host is hotter than the handle of a cast iron skillet? Not even letting me finish. I want to reread that one. And C, whose host is hotter than the handle of a cast iron skillet left in the oven for 3 hours. Thanks for writing that, Kat. Yes, that's this show, the Gutfeld show. So why would the LA Times leave us out of their recap? What could their reasoning be? Well, there is none. When the leading late-night show is bucking the conformity of those other shows, you'd think that would be a story, perhaps even a big one, for the writer whose beat is late-night TV. But no, they ignored this show like it was me trying to get a lap dance at Applebee's. I get confused. It's all those bright lights. Again, the question's why? Well, it's like the January 6 hearings. If you don't show the other side of anything, it helps you think it doesn't exist. It's like when your car's making a strange noise, so you turn up the radio and suddenly the noise is gone. It's like covering your eyes and sticking your fingers in your ears and singing la, 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 which is how doctors say is the safest way to get through Fox and Friends. They don't watch. With few exceptions, the mainstream press has bent over backwards to ignore our success, since ignoring it means we don't exist. There could be no viable alternative to their crud fests. True, if their minds were any more closed, they'd be a post office on July 4th. So what does that say about their beliefs or their egos? That maybe they know that neither can stand up to a challenge. It's the same thing that happened when Fox News launched 25 years ago. They laughed, they mocked, and you saw how that turned out. We're stomping them like grapes under the feet of an Italian winemaker. I get asked this question a lot from college kids. Where am I and why am I tied up? But also, how do I respond to people who outnumber me on campus and trash me for my beliefs? You know, I always say, stab them in the face. With truth. And a knife. Made of honesty. When people give you for being different, just say, do you ever wonder why I'd choose the harder path? Why would I make it hard on myself? I mean, I could just do you. So aren't you curious as to why I would make myself less popular than a class called Intro to Chlamydia? It's a question I pose to my evaporating competition. Do you ever wonder why we aren't doing you? Is it because we're dumb or crazy, or maybe I know something you don't? The answer isn't as important as them hearing that question. It's like when I asked my wife why her tennis pro is living with us. Sure, I could do their liberal late-night shtick. Pandering is the easiest form of comedy. I wish someone could explain that to the writers at SNL. They're still doing Trump is an evil Cheeto jokes that were stale in 2016, while saying nothing about a president who flopped off a stopped bike like he was rounding a turn in the Tour de France. True, people in this industry don't like us, meaning myself, Kat, and Tyrus. Well, I'm guessing Tyrus catches a little less than the rest of us. There's something about giving crap to a guy who's not only smarter than you, but could fold you into his wallet. But I lost friends the more successful this show became. Before, I was just harmless. They could pat me on the head and say, he just doesn't know any better. But then when the winning began, suddenly they don't want you around anymore. They'll marginalize your ideas, say that you used to be funny, but not anymore. They don't want to face you. Maybe because I knew better than they did. And they don't want to have to fight for their beliefs. We must all agree, or the cocktail party sucks. What a chicken way to go through life, especially in this industry. The LA Times ignored us because they're cowards, which is lamer than the late night hosts they drool over. In the future, will they come around to seeing why we're killing it? Who cares? We don't need them. But hey, our door is always open, unlike their minds. Let's welcome tonight's guest. She's the only Fox host to pose nude on a book cover, besides Stuart Varney. Host at Kennedy on Fox Business, Kennedy. He was the second best host of Red Eye, Fox News contributor Tom Shalhoub. Take the state of New Jersey, add hilarity, and mix it with a bowl of gravel. And you get actor and comedian Jim Florentine. And finally, both she and California expect a lot of blackouts this summer. Fox News contributor Kat Tipp. We have, dare I say, a panel full of comedians, very funny people, who probably have very valuable insights on this topic, including perhaps you, Tom.
Yes, Greg.
How are you?
It's great. I love this A block. We got the rundown of the show in email today, and it said, A block, let's talk about how awesome Greg is. So,
Yeah.
You know, my producers should be a little more subtle.
I know, that's right.
It's not about me, it's about all the opportunities I give to everyone else.
It is true, and you're killing it in the ratings, including the younger demographic. You have the youngest demographic in late night, which is odd because in the teleprompter, you have the biggest, most elderly person font.
It's true. I can't see anything. Probably won't be seeing you anymore. One question to you, and I want to move on to Kennedy because she's funnier. Do you think it's the comedians who are concerned about being liberal, or is it the people like the producers and their bosses?
It's all of them all together. And the thing is, I used to think it was a liberal bias, but it really is a bias toward the establishment and those in power, which is weird because it didn't used to be that way. I worked on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. When he took over the show in 1999, he came in and he said to everyone, we're going after the powerful. Who's ever in power, we're going after. And he did that for a while. And his show was killing it. Now you're killing it because you're doing it.
Yeah, there you go. Very good. I am killing it.
Yes.
Yes, no need to applaud. We're eating into my valuable talking time every time you applaud. Kennedy, you were this big star on MTV. How many friends did you lose? Like, did you notice a sea change in the people around you when you started working at Fox?
It wasn't when I started working here, it was in 2016. So when Trump was elected, that was the line in the sand. So for people who in the past had been tolerant of my views, which, had been libertarian and conservative, that was fine for a while, like you said, as long as you were the cute little pet. But once someone came into power who offended the establishment, that was the line, and a lot of people weren't willing to cross it in order to be friends anymore. And it's a miserable feeling. But, I look at the people like Chelsea Handler and Stephen Colbert, who are formerly funny people, who have a great deal of personal experience, and how they're so unfunny now. And I realize that fear is the worst way to operate in comedy. And I always think, like, what would Andy Kaufman have done? Would he have ever been afraid of offending someone or losing friends? Absolutely not. Like, the joke was the more important thing, making people uncomfortable. And I'm really happy there's someone making someone uncomfortable, because the places like LA Times would love to have an establishment leftist column forever, but it's boring and it's failing, and it's not where most of the country is right now.
Yeah. Well, there we go. I'd like to think that I make everybody uncomfortable. I think I do, Jim.
I mean, when you're gassy.
Yeah, I'm gassy and I'm strange, and I like to stare at people. Jim, you still have I don't know what your politics really are. I can't figure them out. But I assume that you still have. I don't think you're a liberal, but you have liberal friends. So I can't even tell. Do you find that comedians actually give a damn about this stuff, or
some of them do? Yeah. You got to really be careful with the conversation. We try not to even just bring it up.
Yeah.
You got the people that just want to play by the Hollywood playbook, the comics. What did Judd Apatow tweet about this? So let me put a tweet that's similar. So if Judd ever's casting for a movie, maybe he'll see my Twitter feed. Go, I'm going to put him in because he thinks like me. It's the Hollywood playbook. And then you got the other guys say, hey man, just go up there and tell jokes. What's the big deal?
Right.
So it's a fine line you got to ride. But also with these late night guys, it's almost like the COVID jokes. Like all the comics have them, and they're hacky. No one wants to hear them anymore in a club. They're waiting for a new wave of COVID to come so they can bring back those jokes. And that's how these guys are the late night guys. Trump's back. Oh, good, he's in the news again. We got tons of material. The same hacky jokes, like you said, since 2016.
Yeah, they come. It is like it's a rotation. Like like that little cake display at the diner just keeps coming around.
Yeah.
I just like doing this with my finger. Are you hypnotized?
They hate when Trump lays low for like 3 weeks. There's no statements, and then all of a sudden, yes, he's back. We got jokes again.
Exactly.
We got our COVID jokes.
Yes, they need it. Kat, why are they so intimidated by us?
He said us. Because you always send me those articles about the show, and I'm like, why? I'm not in this. I just search for my own name. I'm never in there. So what you're doing is sending me an article about how great you are. Again, like, thanks.
You lost friends.
Of course.
You lost close friends.
And it's this
when you killed them.
No, I'm nonviolent. It's the same thing as Kennedy went through, where it's my beliefs haven't changed since I met some of these people. I've always been libertarian. It's been exactly the same. But then it just became not okay that, I've never voted for a Republican. I've also never voted for a Democrat. But then in 2016 and 2020, it was not okay that I wasn't voting for a Democrat. And then all of the history that I had with some of these people, over a decade, some of these people, didn't matter because I was now a horrible person. And it wasn't just an angry conversation. I actually don't have some of these people that I was very close with in my life. Even though I didn't change at all, those people changed. And the guy that I was supposed to vote for things aren't going great.
Yeah. Which guy?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Does it have to be a guy?
And what for what? Depends on what you're talking about.
Yeah, you're right. Women should political office.
actually voted-
Sexist would say.
yeah.
Well, you know, the Andy Kaufman thing, it may be true. We don't know. Greg, this all could be an act. You could turn out to be some left-wing communist, and this whole thing is a ruse.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.